What you once were. And you can't live on the bandwagon of yesterday and expect to get the greatness of today. And that's what many, many Christians try to do. If we can just recreate it like it was in 2008, if we can just get the church back to the way it was in 2004. God did what he wanted to do then, but now there's some new stuff he wants to do for us. There's some fresh wind he wants to send our way. There's some new spirit he wants to do for you. But if you decide to live back over yonder, then you're always going to get yonder's blessings. So encourage each other and build each other up just as you are already doing. By the way here, this is Paul talking to the church. He's talking to church folk here. The church at Thessalonica. He's talking to church people here. He says, encourage each other, build each other up, just as you are already doing. In other words, don't just come to the house of God. Don't just sit on a pew week after week. Build somebody up. Encourage somebody. Be the Christian you've been preaching about. Live it, baby. Don't just come here and put your money in the plate. That's great. We'll need it. We'll spend it. But you better come here and help somebody. Encourage somebody. Lift somebody else, because you are the church. This building is just a vehicle that God has allowed us to have. You and I are the church. Paul's saying, you are the church. Build somebody up. Don't just be a bandwagon rider. Build somebody up. Listen, bandwagon riders are the ones who will make you think they are for you. Make you think they have your back. But the moment, some of y'all need to listen and even take notes. But the moment you don't have the thing or the connection that they needed, where are they? The moment the handouts stop, where are they? The moment correction and rebuke and reproof comes, where are they? People who just want to be around when everything's good. We have to have encouragers around us. Turn your neighbor and say, encourage me. You have to have encouragers around us, those who want to see us make it, those who want to see us smile. But even if, listen to me now, there's people, we need people around us that want to see us smile. But even if we don't, even if we can't, they're still going to be there. That's the kind of people you need to surround yourself with. I want to see you smile. I just can't right now. Good. When you are ready, I'll be right here. And I'll do my best to help you. Those are the kind of people you need in your life. And that don't make you any less of a person if you decide to disassociate yourself with those folks. It just means I got to have those around me who are going to take me to a greater place and not leave me where I'm at. Encouragers. In this walk with Christ, it is difficult enough by ourselves at times. It's difficult enough, and we cannot afford to have wishy-washy folks in our lives. Wishy-washy. Ain't nothing worse than a wishy-washy Christian. I love him today. I don't know much about this today. Wishy-washy. Be for me. Be for me when I can't be for myself. Be for me when everybody else has decided to leave me. Be for me not just when I'm at my best, but be for me when I'm at my worst. Listen, I write this one down. If I was taking notes, I typed it. It was so good. You cannot afford bandwagon bums. You cannot afford bandwagon bums. You need real folk. What kind of folk are those? The ones who I've already said 20,000 times today, who are going to be with you regardless. Who are going to be with you regardless. Who are going to stand in the gap for you regardless. Who are going to have your back when everybody else is talking trash about you. Those are the folks you got to have. Who are going to stay by you when you've heard stuff about them. Who are not going to leave you just because you did something you shouldn't do. They're going to be there. They may correct you and they may tell you what you want to hear, but they're still going to be Barnabas. There. Barnabas was willing to accept Paul as both a friend and as a student. Acts chapter 9, verse 26 and 30. Everybody else said, no, we can't let him. This is kind of how some churches operate. No, we can't let Saul back up in here. He's the Christian killer. He's the gossiper. He's the one who's going to tear down the church. You can't let him back up in here. But one man, Barnabas, said, no, he used to be that way. But I see him now as Paul, the man of God. I see him now as wants to learn and do the right thing. We're going to allow him up in here. And because of that, Paul became one of the greatest apostles, one of the greatest teachers, one of the greatest men of faith to ever walk on this planet. Because one man, Barnabas, said, I see something else in that man. He's not what he used to be. See, that's all you and I need in our life, is somebody who won't see us just for what we used to be. Somebody who won't see you just as the old club and folk you used to be. Somebody who won't see you just as the old moving around house to house like you used to be. All you need is one person who will just see you how God sees you. That was then, baby, and this is now. You have a chance and an opportunity, and I'm going to help you get there. At some point, and this is what a lot of people don't like and they can't handle, but at some point, the student should become the leader of the group. There should come a point that you are no longer in charge of everything, but you've taught and trained and given somebody else an opportunity to spread the gospel or to do something you couldn't do. That's called the student becoming the leader, because you were faithful in who we are, and sure that if God has said it, he meant it, and if he meant it, it shall come to pass. That's the way the Bible works. God says it, God means it, and it shall come to pass. Today, I want you to be encouraged that God is not the bandwagon type. Because guess what? God knows you and nobody else does. God knows you when you're up late at night. God knows you when you take that ride. God knows you when you got the remote and nobody's looking. God knows you when you got your phone and nobody's around. God knows you when you're on the computer. But he never leaves you. And see, we're flesh, and he knows that. He knows that we are flesh, and he knows that we have issues and problems, but he doesn't change. It does not change because of all that we do. As a matter of fact, when we mess up, God says, I'm still here. You are no longer, there's no longer any condemnation because I'm here. He is not upset. He's not mad when we fail. He says, no, I'm here, and let's get it under the blood, and let's move on. If we could do that as Christians, imagine how full our churches would be all around. But we hold people accountable for 20 years for something they did back in high school, and God says, I've forgotten it. Why don't you move on? Because we're bandwagon folks sometimes. God never does that. He sees us when we're at our lowest point. He sees us when we don't even love ourselves. But he's still got one of those big number one fingers rooting for us. You're going to make it. You're going to make it. You're still number one in my book. You're still fearfully and wonderfully made. See, even regardless of what we do to ourselves, doesn't change the fact that God made us. Doesn't change the fact that God's got a purpose for us. Doesn't change the fact that God's got a destiny for us. Guess what? Even when you and I screw it up big time, doesn't mean that we are not anointed anymore. It just means we've got to go back and get it right. So now we can use our anointing in full force. Just because you mess up and do something you're not proud of, hear me out, doesn't mean you are not anointed. Doesn't mean you are not called. Doesn't mean God doesn't have a plan for you. It just means you got to back up a little bit, get it back right, and then go back on your journey. Just change. They had a fall from grace, and they messed up. And what usually happens is the bandwagon folks leave them instead of helping them get back up. So guess what? You ain't going to want to hear this. But some of the greatest, most anointed, most gifted, most called leaders are seen at home on Sundays because a bandwagon folk left them high and dry when they messed up. Most of the greatest pastors, teachers, they're probably not in church anymore because when they messed up, everybody scattered instead of saying, I'm going to stick it out so God can help you and you can make it.